One of the most powerful tools for transformation in the Christian life is often one of the most overlooked. I'm not talking about prayer, Bible study, or even worship, but something that many of us are actually pretty bad at. Something that could literally change the trajectory of someone's faith journey with just a few intentional words. Stay with me because we're about to discover in Hebrews 10 how we might revolutionize how you think about Christian community. And at the end, I have 3 practical tips you can use today. Welcome to the Noble Brian's video channel. I'm your host, Steve Sanders, and today we're exploring a much needed topic in today's church. We live in an age of unprecedented isolation. Despite being more connected than ever through social media, people are often lonelier and more discouraged and even more spiritually dry than perhaps any generation ever before us. Even in our churches, we sit in our assigned seats in our rows, we exchange pleasantries with people around us, and then we leave feeling just as empty as when we arrived. Many Christians are struggling silently, feeling really like they're barely even hanging on to their faith, wondering if anyone would even notice if they stopped showing up. I've spent most of my adult life as a serious student of the Bible, as well as a Bible teacher and a study group leader, and I've seen a pattern repeatedly. The Christians who thrive are not necessarily the ones with the most theological knowledge or the most disciplined prayer lives. They're the ones who have learned the art of biblical encouragement. After studying out this passage in Greek, I can tell you that what we're about to unpack today in Hebrews 10 is not just a nice suggestion, it's a divine imperative. Today we're diving into Hebrews 10, verses 24 and 25, where the author gives us a blueprint for Christian community that could transform our churches, our families, and our spiritual lives. We're going to discover what it means to really stir one another up and why the Greek word is more intense than you think, the difference between encouragement and empty positivity, how Christ modeled this perfectly and calls us to do the same in practical ways to become an encourager starting today. As I said, we're reading from Hebrews chapter 10, verses 24 and 25, and I'll be reading that from the Lexham English Bible, the LEB. That's the one I often use here on the Noble Brian's video channel. Join with me now and we'll get right to it. And let us think about how to stir one another up to love and good works, not abandoning our meeting together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and by so much more as you see the day drawing near. The recipient of Hebrews were likely Jewish Christians who were facing intense persecution and social ostracism. They were probably tempted to abandon their faith and return back to Judaism to avoid suffering. Now, the author of this book is writing to a community that is really, they're growing weary, they're discouraged, and some were already starting to drift away from regular fellowship. Sound familiar? Now, this passage we're reading today comes right after the author has explained Christ's perfect sacrifice and our access to God through Him. That's Hebrews 10, verses 19 through 23. Be sure you go read that. Now, he turns to the practical implications. How should we live in light of this amazing grace? The answer? By spurring one another on. This begins first by the art of provoking love and goodness. The Greek word proximos is where we get our English word paroxysm. Now, this word means to stir up. It's like stirring up a sudden violent emotion or an action. It's not a gentle nudging. It's not subtle. It's an intentional provocation toward righteousness in this case. So what does this mean to us? Well, first, it means this is, as I said, intentional. It's not accidental. We must consider how. Now, that word in Greek means to observe carefully how to encourage others. It is also an active word, not a passive word. Now, that means we're called to provoke, to incite, to stimulate others toward love and good works. And it's also specific, not generic. We need to know people well enough to understand what will motivate them. Jesus himself was the master of holy provocation. Think about how he challenged the rich young ruler in Matthew 19:21 to sell all his possessions. And then he challenged Peter, his own disciple, after Peter had denied him by asking if he loved him. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. That's from John 21:15 through 17. And then we have the Samaritan woman, this outcast from society, a woman who had lived this less than ideal life. He treated her as a human being, and he told her about who he was, challenging her in the faith. That comes from John 4, verses 7 through 26. In each case, Jesus knew exactly what each one of these people needed. How can we practically apply this ourselves? Number one, ask yourself, what does this person really need to hear to take the next step toward Christ? Number two, move beyond just asking people, how are you? To things like maybe, how is your soul? Or asking questions to really understand the person and continuing to ask more to be sure you know what's going on in their lives. And then number three, share specific observations. I've noticed your heart for perhaps giving or serving. Or maybe God has really been using you to make new people feel welcome in the church. Whatever that may be sure you're noticing that. The second point today is the power of presence, and that's not forsaking the assembly. Now, the phrase here, not abandoning our meeting together, refers to the formal gathering of the believers, but it also refers to all forms of Christian fellowship. Now, what I mean by that could even mean a meeting at lunch with just one or two other believers, or perhaps a meeting for prayer before work over coffee. It could also mean an evening meeting in your home with other believers. It goes far beyond what we think about as church. The problem that the people here were facing is they were already making it a habit to not gather together with one another. Now, this could have been due to fear or discouragement, or maybe even spiritual apathy. The reason gathering matters so much, number one, faith is contagious, but so is discouragement. Number two, accountability. We need others to see our blind spots and to point those blind spots out to us. Number three, we need others to encourage us. And encouraging means to call one another alongside. That means it requires your presence. Jesus prioritized gathering his disciples even in his final hours, where he brought them together and he said, where two or three gather together in my name, I am there with them. That comes from Matthew 18:20. This is how you can apply this right now. Number one, make the gathering of yourself together a priority, not an option. Number two, create smaller gathering opportunities. That could be Bible studies or prayer groups or informal meals. Number three, be intentionally present, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. The third main point today is urgency and encouragement. It says at the end of the passage, as you see the day drawing near. The approaching day is referring to Christ's return, but also to the immediate crisis that the Hebrew Christians were facing. We all must remember these three things. Number one, time is limited. We don't know how long we have to impact others. Now, that may be because we don't know how long it is until the end of this age. But it could also be that we don't know how long we have with that person. Number two, stakes are high. People's faith journeys hang in the balance here. Someone could be at the end of the rope and you may not know it. Number three, opportunities are fleeting. The person who needs encouragement today might not be there tomorrow. We need to remember that Jesus' entire ministry was marked by this urgency. He said, we must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. That's John 9, verse 4. This can be practically applied in your life this week by not waiting for the perfect moment to encourage someone. Text, call, or visit that person that's been on your heart. And remember, encouragement delayed is often encouragement denied. Now, I told you I was going to give you 3 ways to apply this entire lesson in your life this week. The first is the encouragement challenge. Identify one person in your life who needs encouragement and reach out to them in the next 24 hours. Second is the presence commitment. Make a plan to be physically present with other believers beyond Sunday morning and make a plan to be present when you are present. What I mean by that is slow down and listen to people. Pay attention to their needs. Don't worry so much about telling what's on your mind, but hearing what they have to say. Let them know you are there for them. Then number 3 is the study question. Before your next interaction with a fellow Christian, ask, how can I spur them toward love and good deeds? Now, you can carry this forward to long-term growth by developing habits around specific biblical encouragement and creating or joining small groups focused on mutual encouragement. And then finally, practicing the art of asking deeper questions that lead to real conversation. Let me leave you with this thought. In a world that specializes in tearing people down, Christians have been called to be professional builder-uppers. We have the privilege of being God's instruments of encouragement in people's lives. The question isn't whether you need encouragement. We all do. The question is, who has God placed in your life that you can stir up to love and good works? Is that a coworker that's struggling, a family member who's drifted from the faith, or maybe a friend that's going through a tough season? Here's what I know. When we learn to encourage like Jesus did, intentionally, specifically, and with urgency, we don't just change people's lives. We discover that we become the kind of Christians we never thought we could be, the kind of Christians that others gravitate toward because of what you add to their life and their spiritual journey. So let's commit together. Let's be a people who stir each other up, who show up for each other, and who never miss an opportunity to call out the best in one another. Because in a world full of discouragement, the church should be a place where hope comes alive. Okay, before we wrap up, let's have a moment of prayer. We're going to do as we often do and be silent for just a moment. That's to let your spirit connect with God as we go into prayer so you can really be thoughtful about what we're saying and what we're asking God to do in our lives. Join with me now. Father, thank you for this opportunity to learn more about how we can be encouragers in your church. God, the church is meant to be a body of believers. It's meant to be about we, not me. God, I pray you stir us all up to that this week, up to that inspiration to promote moving forward in the faith with love and encouragement toward others. God, guide us toward the right people with the right words at the right times. Help us to be that encouragement at the moment when people need it. Father, I pray also that you encourage us. God, bring us a fullness of your Spirit, that we may see that what we are doing is glorifying your name and doing the good work of the kingdom. God, we need you to protect us, keep us from harm. God, we know that you are our shield. You are our protector. We thank you and we praise you. May we glorify your name. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Okay, before you go to bed tonight, I want you to send one text, make one call, or have one conversation that stirs someone up to love and good works. Your obedience to this passage in the Bible might be exactly what someone needs to keep going in their faith journey. And as you go out this week, I want you to look for opportunities to spread God's love everywhere and reflect Him well. God bless.